Hi everyone, I hope you can hear me and see me. Welcome to this Russia Sanctions broadcast that we launched a couple of weeks ago to update you daily on the latest developments concerning EU, US, and UK sanctions against Russia. And as for the past 2 weeks, I will update you today on a couple of developments concerning export controls. So let me please share my presentation with you before we begin. Thank you. For those of you who don't know me yet, my name is Alexander Witt, and I'm a sanctions and export control consultant with the Association of Certified Sanctions Specialists, ACSS. Just 1 second. Sorry to let you wait. I had the wrong presentation open on my desktop. So if we look at the latest export control updates of the past week, we've seen only 2 new updates. And before we get to these updates, I will also repeat an update from the 1st of April in case you didn't join us last week. So on April 1st, BAS issued a final rule adding 120 entities to the entity list. 95 of those were added as military end users under the destinations of Belarus and Russia for acquiring and attempting to acquire items subject to the EAR in support of Belarus and Russia's militaries. This rule basically applies a highly restrictive policy of denial for the review of license applications for exports, re-exports, and transfers to the listed entities of all items subject to the EAR and prohibits the use of all license exceptions for such transactions. And then last week, on April 7, the Bureau of Industry and Security, BIS, issued orders denying the export privileges of 3 Russian airlines, including Aeroflot, Azur Air, and UTAir, or UT Air, due to ongoing export violations related to comprehensive export controls in Russia imposed by BIS some weeks before. As we have seen in February and March, BIS actually restricted any transactions involving items that fall under the EAR to listed Russian airlines, and those airlines were included as well. Now BIS issued temporary denial orders to these 3 airlines. Temporary denial orders terminate the right of these airlines to participate in transactions subject to the EAR, including exports and re-exports from the United States. These temporary denial orders are issued for 180 days and may be renewed. Aeroflot, UT Air, and Azur Air engaged in and continue to engage in recent conduct prohibited by the EAR. These airlines actually continued international flights in violation of the export control regulations by the US imposed a couple of weeks before. Additionally, domestic Russian flights by the same airlines on aircraft were re-exported to Russia after March 2nd without the required BAS license, therefore also violating the EAR. On April 8, the Commerce Department, through the BIS, issued a final rule that formally added the nations of Iceland, Liechtenstein, Norway, and Switzerland to the growing global coalition of nations that are cooperating against Russia and Belarus through the implementation of similarly stringent export controls. Under this rule, BIS added these countries to the list of countries that are excluded from certain license requirements of the US Russia Belarus sanctions rules, including the Foreign Direct Product FDP rules for Russia Belarus and Russian Belarusian military end users. Iceland, Liechtenstein, Norway, and Switzerland join Australia, Canada, the 27 member states of the EU, Japan, the Republic of Korea, New Zealand, and the UK, bringing the total number of countries participating in this global export control effort against Russia to 37 countries. And lastly, on April 9, BIS published a new rule which expanded the license requirements in Russia and Belarus to all items designated on the Commerce Control List categories 0 to 2. While the vast majority of items in these categories already required a license for Russia and Belarus, this rule imposes new license requirements for items including certain composite materials, medical products containing certain toxins or genetically modified organisms, hydraulic fluids, pumps, valves, and lower level machine tools. This was an update of the US export control activities that we've seen last week. Now, if we move on to the UK, we've seen also something very interesting. On the 4th of April, the Export Control Joint Unit of the Department for International Trade published a notice with settlements of 8 UK exporters and their fines. Between December 2021 and February 2022, the HM Revenue and Customs issued compound settlement offers between £1,000 and £2.7 million to 8 UK exporters. All of these settlements related to unlicensed exports of dual-use goods, military goods, and related activity controlled by the Export Control Order 2008. The largest fine before the February fine was issued in September 2020 for dual-use goods sold without a license, which was a fine of £210,000. For the first time, we've seen a new record-breaking fine of £2.7 million relating to unlicensed exports of military goods. This is interesting because some experts are concerned by this settlement because of the fact that it's a really high figure, which can indicate two things. It was a pretty serious violation of the company that is not being named. And if it would have gone to trial, it could have been a lot more. And just to demonstrate to you what we can observe in the UK fines that we've seen concerning the export of dual-use goods, I have a graph here which shows that UK fines for arms export violations have quadrupled in recent years. In the past 5 years, the UK government has imposed more than £2.6 million fines on companies conducting unlicensed strategic exports, but there has been a marked increase in the last 2 years. There were only 4 fines in 2017 and 2018, when EU regulations still applied to UK arms exports. In 2020 and 2021, after the UK had left the EU, there were 31 fines and increased by 675%. So the UK government is clearly stepping up its efforts to fine UK exporters for violating its laws. And last but not least, we've seen a couple of updates concerning exports from the EU to Russia. You are probably all aware of the 5th round of sanctions that has been imposed last week. It has been announced a bit earlier, but the Council decision has been published on the 9th of April. On the 8th of April, Council Decision 2022-578, concerning restrictive measures in view of Russia's actions destabilizing the situation in Ukraine. And I only picked up the 2 amendments that are concerning imports and exports here to highlight those. And we can see that Article 4L has been added, which, I quote, it shall be prohibited to purchase, import, or transfer directly or indirectly coal and other solid fossil fuels into the Union if they originate in Russia or are exported from Russia. And this prohibition shall not apply to the execution until the 10th of August of contracts that have been concluded before the 9th of April. So if you had any contracts involving these activities that you entered in before the 9th of April, you still have time to wind down your execution until the 10th of August. And also Article 4M states it shall be prohibited to sell, supply, transfer, or export directly or indirectly goods which could contribute in particular to the enhancement of Russia's industrial capacities to any natural or legal person, entity, or body in Russia or for use in Russia. And here we have an execution date of on the 10th of July for contracts concluded before the 9th of April as well. And I want to add here that these items that are concerned here can be found in the annex of this council decision, in case you want to check if these HS codes apply to your products. And this concludes our update today on US, UK, and EU export controls concerning Russia. We could now receive a couple of questions if you have any. I will stay with you for a couple of more minutes. So please feel free to comment and I'll take your question. Okay, I hope you liked this broadcast and hopefully see you. I think we just received a comment. Oh, thanks, Marcelo. Thanks for joining us today. I hope it was helpful and hopefully see you tomorrow and next week if I do another export controls update. Have a good day, everyone.